The withered animatronics are coming all from the Edwin Factory? A lot of the infamous Fnaf lore is obscured by the timeline itself. Sets of events and locations have always prevailed towards the conclusion of these incidents to the games we are all playing. But one above all begun this convoluted trend as a whole, Fnaf 2. Events are not in a chronological sense when you play these games. As a way for the viewers to connect pieces that are shrouded in mystery, one of the greatest ones being, where do the withered animatronics come from? We accept the fact that this establishment came into the development before the opening of the main Fnaf 1 location, hosting the core 4 Fnaf animatronics, Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, Foxy, yet the withered animatronics are clearly parallel counterparts to the main cast, with severely different designs that could not physically be possible for them to be the same animatronics. Even the endoskeletons don't persist in the same designs. Disregarding the instances of visual design falling apart, the only logical instance towards their placement is way before the events of any of the seen locations in the games. But where would they even come from? If you've already explored all of the locations that were before FNAF 1 or 2 location conceptions. 1970s, The Secret of the Mimic Factory. Yes, the Edwin. I hate hearing the Edwin, I am the mimic song. Many questions as to why these robots are here and where they came from, but never how they ended up the way they are. Notice how there are severe damaged parts that no normal instance of garbage piling or scrapping can conceive. The felt material, maybe, but pure remnant endured metal being ripped apart only to lift strings of wire isn't a normal procedure to be done. What if they were all present in the events of the factory's downfall? We know that Edwin is being shown to have gone missing and that we, the player, are sent to retrieve parts needed for the company, as shown from the Help Wanted 2 update ending. The same van does say Metzi's. Well, I'm just calling him Motzi. But I don't think we're here for him. Motzi. Besides, we're being chased down by the Mimic, and the Mimic is being hoarded by Motzi, being kept in one location. That is why he was there in Ruin DLC. Clearly, it seems Fazbear Company obtained him in their possession after the threat was neutralized, so it would have made sense for the player to explore the entire factory when he's there hunting you down. What if you were there to grab the original 4 from the location, though? We already know there was a coming soon teaser to the main game, but never expected for the Faz game to be introduced to the general public in the same time as the Mimic events, more closely associated with the 80s, minimum, to make sense to the story. And there is still such a huge gap in between the Mimic going loose and being able to influence Cassidy into releasing him. Where do we fall into this as to why now, of all times, did the Mimic decide to let loose? Simple. The Pizzeria Simulator ending. From one of the best articulated speeches formed in this series, Henry expresses his gratitude in finally releasing the spirits of the vengeful spirits to their ascension. But we know this isn't the first time in which this has been attempted, with the good ending of FNAF 3 concluding quite unquote that the missing kids finally felt rest. But if one piece of the spirits are in another location, they clearly can never rest. As shown with Henry's speech, he needed Michael's help in gathering them all into one place to free them of their suffering, harvesting all the places into one spot so that all the pieces came together, so that all that remained finally ascended. With Molten Freddy being shown as the last harvested parts of the main 4 souls, or Remnant, I suppose. Molten Theory, whatever. Go watch another video about it. I just saw one. I'll put a recommendation in the video itself when I edit this. This is a roundabout way of saying that the Mimic couldn't have gotten out to influence his way out without the presence of the other spirits that inhabited the location still existing. Why the blob at the end of the secret ending of Security Breach went to attack the Mimic, or Scrap Chat, It was not in the thought that William was finally receiving the penance that he finally deserved. It was so the blob could finally rest for their spirits, needing all the pieces in one piece, notably being represented by, of course, the FNAF 4 bots. All things being placed into one, so that they can never be found again. What if the withered animatronics look the way they are, and are as dismantled due to being parts molded onto the Mimic itself? That's why, due to this being the 70s, he's so advanced as a whole. But you might be saying, that wouldn't make any sense whatsoever considering the missing kids incident wouldn't even have happened. Even if your canon timeline event is different from mine, we can all agree that magically, this set of murders happening during the 70s makes no sense whatsoever unless the mimic was only composed of the parts being ripped from the withered animatronics, not the spirits, before they were stuffed into the suits, which is why it took so long for the bodies to be even found. The withereds are in such a decommissioned state, but are always kept to the franchise, even being repurposed and eventually found of the original kids' corpses. But why are they kept for so long? And how did they end up with all of those worn out tears? The fire of Murray's factory. I think the end of this game will conclude with Fall Fest. And the secret of the mimic? He's always been there. He is the reason the spirits are even able to conjure their infused vengeance to this day. The animatronics themselves have his code. They are learning. That's why they needed to keep them, to conduct their studies as to what exactly Edwin did. With the bodies inside of them, the withers wanted to live, which is how the discovery of Remnant is formulated from William Afton's efforts. That's just a quick video of mine. Hope you all enjoy and subscribe.